Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we'll be playing Satisfactory. This will hopefully be the first in a new series of a new base building set. We'll be doing a new game and starting in the Dune Desert, which is the recommended for advanced players. I don't know if I quite qualify yet. I've got 120 or so hours in. So I'm at least not a noob. And we're going to call this one the Sandy Car Lot, which of course is about how things are going to look by the time we actually get done with this. So for the purpose of starting off on this new base, I've gone ahead and started with the tutorial mode on, which is why we have the dropship playing. Sped it up to shorten the experience for this. If you've already played the game, you've probably seen it. But this also allows me to comment on the fact that this is a very great example of how to immersively introduce what you're supposed to be doing in the game. It works, it's got a good theme and a good style. It introduces the company Fix-It. Towards the end of the sequence, where they actually point out the fact that you're one of the few people that have survived planetfall, it also pretty much gives you the opinion that Fix-It doesn't really care about you as a biological employee much, which is reinforced throughout the game with things like notes that you get damaged and Fix-It property has been damaged. Such things like that, you really get the big company that doesn't really care about you personally. You're just a cog. Overall, it's very well done and sets a very realistic atmosphere, which I think is what the developers were shooting for.
Welcome to Planet Massage 2 ABB, your designated sector in the binary star system of Akicha.
Once you step out of the drop pod, you actually get introduced to Ada, who's your digital assistant. That's basically the mechanism for helping you with what you need to collect and turn in. Initially with the intro, it is to build the hub, which is where you get your initial workbench and your milestone computer that unlocks new items to build. This is also your first time, obviously, to look around and see what your landing zone looks like. As you can see here, it's a lot. When I'm not looking at the pod, it's a lot of desert. One of the cooler things is that you can build your way to every one of the starting zones that you're offered at the beginning of the game. This is one planet. All the zones are on the same planet, so you can literally build a train that hits all the starting areas if you had a reason to do so. And so from here, we go ahead and recycle the drop pod for the eventual reuse as the core of the hub, which is kind of a nice way to work that into the storyline. And then over the next few minutes, they run through and they go over multiple tools, such as the codex, which basically your library tells you what you need to make various parts, which gets fairly important later on. A nice feature they don't mention right away is that you can look stuff up in the codex and then add them to a to-do list so they have it on the side. That's very nice when you have more complicated things you need to produce, and makes a good hit list of things you need to grab. Then they run over the zapper and scanner and everything. So the animations are good, they're well introduced, yada yada, more of the same. There's very good production value, and they've put a lot of thought into how to introduce these in a logical manner. And then once all the tool familiarity is done, the last one they move on to is your scanner. They emphasize you need to have iron. And of course, iron is close to all the drop areas, so they're easy enough to find. And in this particular case is just over the hill. I can turn around and head right over to it, and up and over the hill in this dusty dunes with all the particle effects. And it's not going to be any surprise that I'm actually going to put my hub over here, because there's multiple iron nodes, as you can see by the thing on the top. There's a couple of them really close by. In fact, I can pull out the scanner here in a moment, and when you're in range, you can actually see the blips, as you can see right there for the two. And there's a little bit of manual breakup and chopping to get that ore out,
Fourth objective.
so we can fulfill the first stage of making the hub.
To complete this objective, the resources salvaged from the drop pod will be...
And so now we're moving down to the second iron resource, picking up plants along the way. Bio resources are going to be critical on this map. And over in there you can see an alien in the distance who will shortly be running to me. And I will be shoving my zapper down his throat. And I love their bouncy animation when you actually kill them. They fly away like you hit them with a 1,000-pound baseball or something. And then that lets me finish off and grab my second resource plot. At this point, I was going to jog up the hill triumphantly with my ore and build my hub. Except that there was a slight issue. So I intended and planned on putting my hub at the tallest spot in my general area, which is the top of this dune, except there's not enough flat space. I spent several minutes trying to find a spot up here that I could actually put it in, but there's not enough flat area. And normally that wouldn't be an issue because you just get some concrete and slap out some slabs, except that it's not unlocked. You actually have to have the hub completed and be in tier 1, and then you gain access to slabs. So I couldn't put it where I wanted to begin with. That kind of grumped me out, but hey, it is a thing. So kind of tried a whole bunch of different places, looked to see where I could put it. I wanted to stick it somewhere fairly close and high, just for general purposes. No real good reason, of course, but so I finally just settled on that particular spot. It was as good as any. And from there, now I've actually got access to my workbench. Yay. You can see me kicking out some iron ingots here. Behind that is the mission computer that gives you your milestones and objectives. You turn in there, and it's a pretty good setup. I like the intro in large part because you start out with this very basic frame, and then as you actually complete your objectives, it builds up. And obviously, it is very boring watching handcrafting. This is an automation game, so handcrafting is the last thing you want to do. Unfortunately, I suspect there's going to be a lot of that simply for the fact that early power generation is based off of biological units, and as you can tell, there's not a heck of a lot of plants around. So I'm going to have some severe difficulty in getting something to actually burn for fuel. And as such, I'll probably take a very laid-back approach to using power, given my lack of resources, until I've got something that's a little bit more sustainable than bio units. Either that or I'm going to have to find where I can go around the corner and get a bunch of bio units. So we'll see. There is obviously water over there. There are some associated plants, but it's still going to largely depend on how fast everything grows back. So here you can see him grabbing everything up and making my initial part turn-ins. There, got my milestone. Need to go fetch some copper. So nothing too bad.
Sixth objective: complete hub upgrade 2. Note: portable miners require
And
no power to mine a node until their
off I
inventory is
go.
full. Note: multiple portable miners.
And as I headed into the great unknown, I suddenly realized, yeah, maybe I should go grab the portable miner that the system was just telling me about, because yeah, it'll make life a little bit easier in the long run. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if I can actually move my hub. And yes, you can. In fact, you can not only move it, but it retains the level it's at. So, yay, no extra work caused by that abrupt move that came in the middle of nowhere. Squirrel! So, yay. And then I needed to go through, look up what I needed to build the equipment workshop so that I could build the equipment workshop. And then once I got the equipment workshop built, I'd have to look up what I need for the portable miners. So portable miners do exactly what you would think. You put them on a vein of material and they will mine it up for you. They will actually do up to a stack of 100 and then they'll stop until you pull the ore out, and then they'll mine it until it's up to a stack of 100. The advantage is you can put multiples on there, and obviously that first one was fairly important to make sure you have iron. I did not scan for my second node because I could see it, and it's not copper, but it is limestone. And limestone is very important. Now, of course, I could see it and tell what it was. And here we actually have a randomized chunk of quartz. You find randomized stuff all over the place, and it actually helps you with discovering new mineral types. And I'm running over to the quartz and the water. There should actually be plants and such over there. And if you look closely, you can see that there's a berry bush over there, and the berry bush is going to be fairly important because there's an alien on the far side you should be able to see. And this is a different type. This is the fireball alien instead of the rush and knock you down alien that we killed before. These are arguably more annoying because they're ranged attackers. I much prefer these ones. These are the smaller ones. They have a big brother that is a lot harder to beat and a lot more, it's more difficult, and it's bigger with more hit points. There's one over in one of the places I was at, and it had ripped me a new one. So I've developed a dislike for them for some reason. Haha. So here I've got the limestone, and because we're going to turn this entire desert into a parking lot, we're going to get started a little early and use one of the portable miners on it and let that start collecting up more limestone. We're going to need lots and lots of concrete. A short while later. So I went down by the river, saw some quartz, got another stack of randomized quartz, and decided it was time to go on a little bit of a biomass gathering. This is really boring, so instead of showing it to you in gloriously slow detail, I've popped this up to a 4x, so zooming through, got quite a bit of stuff here, and picking it dry like this, let me see how fast it regrows. Didn't bother going all the way around, but I got a good stock. Even wound up finding a bacon mushroom in the rocks over there. So after picking up all the plants, going by the limestone and iron to pick up what the portable miners had drilled, I hopped on over to the base and started cracking out stuff I needed for the next milestone, since I didn't realize I needed to actually do some stuff with basic iron to unlock copper. I'd already seen a copper node over there. I knew it was there, so it wasn't a big deal, but this way I can do it officially. And so with the press of a button, boop, we are now up to hub stage 2, and we got new stuff. So more of the same, plus a little bit of wire, and the scanner can now do copper.
Congratulations.
So we already know that there's one over there past the limestone.
Buildings and
So
recipes, which can be found in the build menu and craft bench
that's
respectively.
where we'll most likely go. I
Seventh
think so.
objective. Complete hub
And I
upgrade.
head off.
Note, connect buildings to a biomass burner
And
for power.
I'm going
Note,
to
buildings
turn
such as the
around
smelter
right
require a
about
recipe to be set.
now because I
Advice.
forgot I need
Automate
portable
the smelting
miners. And
process
portable
and
miners
use
are
portable
very
miners for
important,
optimal results.
especially for stuff farther out. It's a huge time saver to have hundreds of mined ore instead of having to go out and mine it manually. And I need parts, so I went over, time skip making parts because it's boring, made some portable miners, and off I went to get the copper. And you can see there's actually a couple hits that are really close by. You can even see them right there out in the distance. So I'm trucking. It's still a ways over there though. So gotta keep that in mind. It's still a trip. That's part of why I made quite a few of the portable miners. And I'm keeping my eyeball out for aliens like the one that just popped up over that ridge over there. Because he's going to be coming my way momentarily. And he's a chaser, so does not do you the best to actually get hit. And if you were paying close attention to the video, there was a little box up there saying that Fix-It property has been damaged, which show that us prospectors are our property. We're human capital. It's one of the worst phrases I've ever heard for describing employees, and it really seems like it fits when it comes to Fix-It. So they do have a lot of really cool tech that helps keep you alive on an alien planet, but definitely not the people I want putting my retirement together. Because their retirement probably has something to do with flames, ash. Nonetheless, I've got my copper right there and there. And there's another alien right there that's close enough that he's best to take care of. And another node that looks like copper in the bowl. So, once I take care of this little boy, I'll go over there and check out that other one. He's taking a little bit more effort. Although I've still got to say it's kind of fun when they fly, I must admit. And head check coppers again. So that is not copper. I'm going to break this open and slap down some portable miners though. Chink, 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 chink. Personally, I want to know where that little chipper comes from, because I'm sure anybody that actually works in real mining would love to have something that can bust a rock that big down to ore like that. Must be one heck of a space age transition into super tools. And of course the waiting point here is to actually build up on the miners so that I can actually take back a stack of ore. So I can actually make my wire and upgrade the hub. Exciting, I know. But I didn't wait too long. Just a little bit. And if you, someone who dazes off, it's real easy to daze off when you're doing this. Watch it collecting and keep going until it hits 100. Alrighty. Pick up the other one. And that's the advantage of having multiple ones going at the same time, is you can pick up 2 or 3 times the amount. Less weight, even if you're actually just pulled them, you've still got more waiting to happen. And of course, here I ran into the fact that I've got a smaller inventory than I'm used to. I've been playing on a different map to learn the game, and as you go along, you increase your inventory. So I have a significantly smaller inventory than I'm used to, and it got kind of aggravating there. And then back to base. So the rest of the stages are a little bit monotonous because they're all basic parts. It doesn't take a whole lot to take care of, and they're not real fun to watch. So upgrades for Hub 3, Hub 4, Hub 5, I actually blew through them pretty quick. So if you're curious, I actually took out about a half an hour worth of raw video footage. So these stages are not overly difficult. This is actually the tutorial stage for teaching you how to build and turn in supplies. So it's easy to do and not too time consuming. It's just not real fun to watch. And then once I hit 5, I actually put in a couple of smelters, primarily because hand smelting takes forever. So having a couple extra smelters there to actually smelt is very beneficial. Again, it's actually not the best use of the leaf biomass. It burns them up pretty quick. You don't get a huge amount of smelting out of them, but it does actually help on the time and volume. So it's not efficient, but it does help. And here you can see I've got the burners, actually the burners that come with the hub. I fuel the one up. I had to take a break in there and go get some parts for wire and then parts for a power pole because I'd forgotten the small fact that those particular burners only have one electrical connection. So if you want to hook them up to more than one thing, you've got to run them through a pole. Not a huge deal, but definitely important to remember. And so here we have the most important button. Yeah, and if you remember from earlier, the reason why this is the most important button is because this particular unlock gives us foundations. And we can't have a parking lot, much less a sandy parking lot, without foundations. So this is the beginning of our sandy car lot. Up it goes. And thankfully, you don't have to wait for it to come back to unlock the science. As soon as you actually launch it, the science is unlocked and you can build what it had. Here you can actually see the different ramps and concrete blocks. Funny thing is that all of the foundations actually cost the same amount of concrete, even though they're obviously and visually significantly larger volumes of concrete. So it's super concrete that we're actually putting in these. It can go from a 3-meter slab to an 8-meter slab. So when I was lining these up, I was actually originally going to shoot for the waterfall, and then I decided to try and line it up for the water, which is a bit hard to do this far away. I may have to run a tendril over to the water and actually square it up at the water and come back to get that the way I want it. And I'm definitely going to have to spend some time setting up easy ways to get on and off this until I've got a little bit more of the desert plastered into a parking lot. Here you can see I fiddled with it for quite a bit, put down the smaller foundations, and then changed my mind because it looks a lot better to actually put out the larger foundations on this. Went ahead and used up what material I had on the smelters and made myself some concrete so I could put some more foundation slabs down. And wow, even on a bumped up speed, that took a while. And at the moment, as you can tell, it's a little bit more difficult to get up and down. I'll need to work on that, add ramps or whatever. But this allowed me to get my hub on a flat surface, which I like my hub being on a flat spot. And for the next section, I'm definitely going to have to worry about being able to get up on the platform a little easier, extending the platform, covering it over, making things flat, automating resources, finding some biomass. Plenty of stuff for me to do. If you guys watching have anything in particular you'd like to see me go do or make, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed watching.